Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Israel offers ceasefire if half of hostages held are released, even as Hamas rejects additional demand to disarm. UN says humanitarian crisis in Gaza at its worst. US sets stage for imposing tariffs on pharmaceuticals and semiconductors as it announces national security investigations into their imports. US Education Department freezes $2.3 billion funding to Harvard after the university rejects federal demands. Mark Zuckerberg testifies at a landmark US antitrust trial as Meta stands accused of unfair practices to acquire Instagram and WhatsApp. Case could see forced divestment of both the apps. In sports, world number one Magnus Carlsen beats Hikaru Nakamura to clinch the Paris Freestyle Chess Grand Slam. Gaza peace talks mediator Egypt said that it received an Israeli proposal for a temporary ceasefire in Gaza that would pave the way for negotiations towards a permanent cessation of hostilities. In its proposal, Israel offered a ceasefire of at least 45 days in exchange for the release of half of the remaining hostages held in the Palestinian territory and the entry of aid. The proposal also includes the disarmament of Hamas and all Palestinian armed factions in the Gaza Strip as a condition for a permanent end to the conflict. Mediators Egypt and Qatar have presented the new Israeli proposal for a Gaza ceasefire to Hamas. Hamas leaders meanwhile said that they were reviewing the ceasefire proposal and would respond as soon as the necessary internal consultations are completed. The group informed the mediators that it is willing to agree to any proposal that includes a permanent ceasefire, a full Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, and the entry of aid. Hamas, however, had rejected any clauses that would see it forced to disarm. Hamas and the resistance faction's position is that the resistance weapons are a red line and non-negotiable. Hamas took 251 hostages during the October 7, 2023 attacks that set off the conflict. Some 58 are still held in Gaza, including 34 the Israeli military says are dead. The United Nations on Monday said Gaza was facing its most severe humanitarian crisis since the conflict began, with no aid entering the territory for weeks now. Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said no supplies had reached Gaza for a month and a half since Israel ended a 2-month ceasefire and began blocking their delivery. The U.S. State Department has approved the potential sale of Eaton Power Pack engines and related equipment to Israel for an estimated cost of $180 million. The principal contractor for the sale will be Rolls-Royce Solutions America. The Defense Security Cooperation Agency in a statement said the United States is committed to the security of Israel and it is vital to U.S. interest to assist Israel to develop and maintain a strong and ready self-defense capability. The second round of talks between the United States and Iran on Tehran's nuclear program is expected to be held in Rome on Saturday. Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani announced that Rome has agreed to host the meeting following requests from the negotiating parties and Oman, which is acting as a mediator. Tajani announced this during a visit to Japan. The first round of indirect talks between US and Iranian officials took place in Oman on April 12th. Both countries have said that they have held positive and constructive talks, although the negotiations remain indirect, with Oman acting as mediator. Meanwhile, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi will travel to Russia this week for consultations regarding the nuclear talks with the US Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed that Arakchi would meet his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow. US President Donald Trump claimed on Monday that Iran has been intentionally delaying a nuclear deal with the United States. Trump cautioned Tehran against a drive for a nuclear weapon, saying it may have to face a military strike if it did not desist from its activities. Trump said that the Iranians need to move fast to avoid a harsh response because they are fairly close to developing a nuclear weapon.
I want them to be a rich, great nation. The only thing is, one thing, simple. It's really simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And they got to go fast because they're fairly close to having one. And they're not going to have one. And if we have to do something very harsh, we'll do it. And I'm not doing it for us, I'm doing it for the world. And these are radicalized people, and they cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Meanwhile, White House Special Envoy Steve Witkoff said on Monday that a diplomatic agreement with Iran will depend on working out details around verification of the country's uranium enrichment and weapons program. Tensions between the United States and Iran over Tehran's nuclear program have spanned decades, from early cooperation to crippling standoffs and cautious diplomacy. Here's a look at the key moments in the long, complex journey towards a nuclear deal, its collapse, and renewed efforts at dialogue.
In 1967, Iran acquired its nuclear reactor from the US under the Atoms for Peace program, which promoted peaceful nuclear development. In 1979, the Islamic Revolution toppled the US-backed Shah. US-Iran relations broke down completely, halting all nuclear cooperation. In 2002, Iran's secret uranium enrichment facility at Natanz was revealed, raising alarms worldwide. By 2003, Britain, France, and Germany had begun nuclear talks with Iran, urging it to halt enrichment. In 2006, Iran resumed enrichment, escalating tensions with the West. In 2009, the US and Iran established a secret diplomatic back channel through Oman. By 2012, US and Iranian officials had held face-to-face talks in Oman, paving the way for formal negotiations. In 2015, Iran signed the JCPOA, a landmark nuclear deal agreeing to curb on enrichment in exchange for sanctions relief. But in 2018, President Donald Trump withdrew the US from the deal, calling it the worst deal ever. In 2019, Iran began rolling back its compliance with the agreement. In 2020, an explosion struck Iran's Natanz facility and Iran blamed Israel. In 2021, the Biden administration began indirect talks in Vienna to restore the deal, but no agreement was reached. That same year, Iran enriched uranium up to 60%, its highest level yet, close to weapons grade. In 2025, Trump returned to the White House and confirmed he had sent a letter to Iran's supreme leader proposing a new nuclear deal. On April 7 this year, the US and Iran agreed to hold indirect talks in Oman. The first round of talks took place on April 12, with both delegations in separate rooms and Oman acting as a mediator. The White House said the talks were very positive and constructive. The second round of talks are to be held on April 19th.
The US is turning up the heat in the trade war, this time targeting two of the world's most crucial sectors, pharmaceuticals and semiconductors. President Trump is pushing forward with plans to slap new tariffs on imported medicine and chips, calling for independence a national security risk. Take a look.
Donald Trump's tariff saga refuses to cease. The rollercoaster ride has already got the global markets facing headwinds. Now the national security probes have been initiated on two products, pharmaceuticals and semiconductors. The probes are a precursor for imposing tariffs on chips and drugs. Trump says he expects to impose tariffs on imported pharmaceuticals in the not-too-distant future.
We don't make our own drugs, our own pharmaceuticals. We don't make our own drugs anymore. The drug companies are in Ireland and they're in lots of other places, China. And all I have to do is impose a tariff. The more, the faster they move in. The higher the tariff, it's very simple. It's inversely proportional. The higher the tariff, the faster they come.
The Commerce Department has launched formal probes into both sectors. Commerce Secretary insists the move will bring manufacturing back home.
We need to have semiconductors, we need to have chips, and we need to have flat panels. We need to have these things made in America. We can't be reliant on Southeast Asia for all of the things that operate for us. So what he's doing is he's saying they're exempt from the reciprocal tariffs, but they're included in the semiconductor tariffs, which are coming in probably a month or two. So these are coming soon. You shouldn't think this is really outside of it. Really think of it as being included in the semiconductor space, much like pharmaceuticals.
But the move is already raising red flags. Drug makers warn it could lead to shortages and make medicines more expensive. Chip makers say that tariffs could disrupt production just as the world is racing to meet the tech demand. Markets had a mixed reaction to the development. Wall Street saw a modest rebound, with investors clinging to hopes that exemptions for some tech goods like smartphones and computers might soften the blow. But Trump has signaled those exemptions won't last forever. Meanwhile, efforts to strike trade deals with many partners are also gathering pace. Treasury Secretary Stock Bessent has hinted momentum in talks with individual countries on reaching trade deals but offered little details. Talks have begun with Vietnam and were to start with Japan on Wednesday, then South Korea next week. These nations, on their part, have started their own efforts to counter the effects. The timeline or chances of any deal with China remains a question mark. South Korea, which is home to chip giants like Samsung, announced an emergency $4.9 billion boost for its semiconductor industry to counter the fallout. Back in America, a legal advocacy group on Monday asked the US Court of International Trade to block Trump's sweeping tariffs on foreign trading partners, arguing the president overstepped his authority. The lawsuit asks the court to block enforcement of the tariffs and declare Trump lacked the authority to impose them. The New York-based Court of International Trade is a US federal court with broad jurisdiction over most trade-related matters. Bureau Report, DD India.
Japan's envoy for the upcoming tariff talks will depart for Washington to hold talks with senior U.S. officials. Japanese Economic Revitalization Minister Akazawa Ryoshi, in charge of the tariff talks, will be visiting the U.S. on Wednesday to launch the negotiations. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent earlier on Monday said that trade talks with Japan would take place on Wednesday and with South Korea next week. Meanwhile, Indonesia's Chief Economic Minister Airlangga Hartarto, along with Foreign and Finance Minister, will also be visiting Washington on Wednesday to hold tariff talks with U.S. officials. Earlier this month, Trump imposed steep reciprocal tariffs on dozens of countries, but later placed a 90-day pause on the new tariffs. The U.S. Department of Education has frozen more than $2.3 billion in federal funding for Harvard University just hours after the school rejected President Trump's demands that it make deep policy changes on diversity. The move marks a new level of contentiousness between President Trump's administration and American universities it accuses of being captured by the extreme left. Trump's administration has frozen hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding for numerous universities, pressing the institutions to make policy and other changes and citing what it says is a failure to fight anti-Semitism on campus. However, Harvard on Monday rejected Trump administration's demands that to receive federal funding, it ends diversity efforts and take other steps that the university said would stifle the intellectual freedom of faculty and students. To ease any funding crunch created by any cutoff in federal funding, Harvard is working to borrow $750 million from Wall Street. A federal judge on Monday blocked U.S. President Donald Trump's administration from quickly revoking the legal status of hundreds of thousands of immigrants from Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua and Haiti. Now, the ruling by district judge is the latest order against Trump's rapid push to carry out mass deportations, particularly targeting Latin Americans. In March, the administration said it was moving to revoke the legal status of some 532,000 Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans and Venezuelans who came to the U.S. under a parole program initially launched by former President Joe Biden in October 2022. Trump has vowed to deport millions of undocumented migrants in his second term after running an election campaign that focused on illegal immigration. Meta platform CEO Mark Zuckerberg took the stand on Monday at a high-stakes trial in Washington over U.S. antitrust enforcers' claims that the company spent billions of dollars to acquire Instagram and WhatsApp to fend off Facebook competitors. The looming antitrust trial will be the first big test of President Donald Trump's Federal Trade Commission's ability to challenge big tech. Zuckerberg responded to questions while seeking to combat allegations that Meta bought the companies a decade ago to eliminate competition among social media platforms where users connect with friends and family. The FTC has pointed to emails in which Zuckerberg proposed acquiring photo-sharing app Instagram as a way to neutralize a potential Facebook competitor and expressed worry that encrypted messaging service WhatsApp could grow into a social network. The trial could stretch into July. If the FTC wins, it would have to separately prove that measures such as forcing Meta to sell Instagram or WhatsApp would restore competition. You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, search operations continue in Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch after security forces exchange fire with terrorists. Punjab Kings will host Kolkata Knight Riders in the 31st match of IPL 2025. We get you a beautiful video of pandas and their fun relics at a Chinese zoo. Stay with us.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India Live. Security forces inducted additional troops and ramped up joint search operations in the Lasana area of Surankot in Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch district after the security personnel made contact with terrorists on Monday night. According to a social media post by the Indian Army's White Knight Corps, the search efforts were conducted along with the Jammu and Kashmir police to prevent the terrorists from escaping. Meanwhile, the Romeo force of the Indian Army also conducted search operations in Poonch after contact was established with terrorists last night. According to officials, terrorists opened fire on the Romeo force personnel, in which one of the security personnel got injured near the Lasana village located upon the national highway connecting Poonch to Jammu. Following the incident, the area was cordoned off and additional security measures were implemented. Lasana village remains under high security as joint operations by Army and Jammu and Kashmir police continue to prevent any escape attempts by the terrorists. Aiming at strengthening bilateral military cooperation, the 6th edition of the joint military exercise Dust Lake between India and Uzbekistan commences in Pune from 15 to 28th of April. This exercise will bring together contingents from the Indian Army and the Uzbekistan Army to enhance collaboration and strengthen military ties. Exercise Dust Lake aims to enhance joint training and facilitate the exchange of best practices in counter-terrorism operations within the sub-conventional domain. This initiative seeks to enhance military cooperation and interoperability between the two armies. Let's get to weather updates now. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued a number of weather advisories for the country, highlighting a combination of severe heat waves and heavy rainfall in different regions. From April to June this year, the IMD predicts above normal temperature in the majority parts of the country. There will likely be severe heat waves in areas like Delhi, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and portions of Karnataka. By mid-April, Delhi is expected to see temperatures as high as 40 degrees Celsius, breaking previous records. Contrasting the heatwave conditions, several states are under heavy rainfall and thunderstorm alerts. Bihar and Jharkhand are expected to experience significant rainfall, which could lead to localized flooding and disruptions. Europe experienced its warmest year on record in 2024 as climate change continued to push temperatures to unprecedented levels. Now, this report comes 3 months after World Meteorological Organization declared 2024 as the warmest year on record after a number of record-breaking months with highest temperatures were reported. According to European State of the Climate, an annual report compiled by the Copernicus Climate Change Service, glaciers in the Alps have continued to lose mass in the past 10 years, including in Central Europe, where there has been an overall mass loss every year since 2015. A sandstorm in central and southern Iraq has sent more than 1,000 people to hospitals with respiratory problems on Monday. More than 250 people were taken to hospital in Najaf province, while at least 322 patients, including children, were sent to hospitals in Diwania province. A further 530 people reported breathing issues in Dhikar and Basra provinces. The sandstorm blanketed Iraq's southern provinces in an orange cloud that reduced visibility to less than 1 kilometer. Authorities temporarily shut the airports in southern provinces of Najaf and Basra as the sandstorm, the biggest this year, obscured visibility in an eerie orange cloud. Dust storms are common in Iraq, but some experts believe they are becoming more frequent due to climate change. Let's turn focus to sports now. World number 1 Magnus Carlsen clinched the Paris Freestyle Chess Grand Slam on Monday after seeing off Hikaru Nakamura. Carlsen defeated his American opponent Nakamura 1.5 to 0.5 in the final after winning the first game and drawing the second to claim the title without needing a tiebreak. Along with the title, Carlsen took home the $200,000 first prize, reinforcing his supremacy in this new hybrid format that combines creativity with classical rigor. Meanwhile, Fabiano Caruana edged out in Vincent Kemmer in the third place playoff, also winning the match by 1.5 to 0.5. With this win, Caruana has booked his spot in the Las Vegas Grand Slam this July. Shreyas Iyer's Punjab Kings will host Ajinkya Rahane's Kolkata Knight Riders in the 31st match of the Indian Premier League 2025 in New Chandigarh on Tuesday. Kolkata are placed 5th in the points table with 3 wins and as many losses to get 6 points from 6 matches, whereas Punjab are 6th with equal points as Kolkata but have an inferior net as they've played 5 matches so far. Punjab are coming off an 8-wicket crushing loss against Sunrisers Hyderabad at the Rajiv Gandhi Stadium. Punjab Kings bowling coach James Hopes has confirmed that pacer Lockie Ferguson will be unavailable for the remainder of the IPL. After his departure, Asmatullah Omarzai can come back into the playing 11. Meanwhile, Kolkata look settled with their 11 and the only change they can make is by replacing Moeen Ali with Spencer Johnson if they need an extra pacer. A newly released video captures a merry moment of twin panda sisters in southwest China gazing curiously at the camera as if posing for a childhood selfie. The adorable siblings gaze curiously towards the camera, enjoying and cuddling. Take a look. All right, with that, we end this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.